Hello grade 9s. Parents, students, this is your high school orientation for grade 9 going into grade 10. Normally, we would do this in person at the school, but unfortunately, circumstances aren't going to allow us to do that this year. Hopefully, I will still get to talk to the grade 9s in person to help them or to discuss some of these points in more detail and if they have any questions. And then we will go ahead and pick their classes for next year. But I did want to just give you a little bit of an overview of what to expect for your grade 10 year to give you some information. There is a lot here. Hopefully this video will help you and you can go through it or go back to it if you have any questions. So first off, my name is Janine Lasan, and I am the Career Guidance Counselor at Esterhazy High School. And I just wanted to give you an overview of kind of my role here is to do about 4 things officially and many other things unofficially. So first off is course selection. So helping you do this, pick your classes for next year. So we're going to do this a couple more times yet. And if you have any questions regarding the classes you should pick, what you need to take first off to graduate in Saskatchewan, and then to get into the post-secondary plan or to pursue the post-secondary plan that you have in mind. So we also talk about, or my job is to talk about what your post-secondary plans are, what classes you need to get into those programs, making sure that you select those classes when we are picking classes every year about this time. My job is also includes scholarships when you get into grade 11 and 12. Scholarships are going to be a big, hopefully important part of you paying for your post-secondary. So I help along with that. And the graduation requirements, first and foremost, is to make sure that you graduate from high school in Saskatchewan with your 24 credits of various classes, along with electives and ones that you have no choice in that you have to take. Having said that too, while that is a big part of my responsibility, as well as Mr. Earhart and Mrs. Huckle, we check frequently to make sure that you're on track for graduation and that you're getting the classes that you need. But ultimately too, as a student, it is your responsibility to check in, to make sure that you have the right classes, to double check, and your parents. We all work together as a team to make sure that you are getting the classes that you need to graduate on several fronts so that nothing falls through the cracks. So now, this is just information. What we're going to be going through today in this presentation, first and foremost, is the graduation requirements that you need to have in order to get that diploma. Also, we are going to be talking about post-secondary plans and many other things that kind of in between. But where you plan on going, is it to the U of R? What classes and what classes you need to get into the program that you want to get into, or if that's the U of S, or even a technical institute like Sask Polytech or a trade, because believe it or not, trades still have requirements that you have to meet in order to get accepted. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about the classes that you're going to have to take or need to take in high school in order to get those 24 credits to graduate. So a compulsory class is basically one of those you have no choice in taking. Those are the must-haves that the government of Saskatchewan has determined are important in order to graduate. And then you will have some choices when it comes to electives. And an elective is just an optional class, and everybody has different interests and pursuits, and you will pick your elective classes based on your interests as an individual. But the compulsory classes, the first 4 that you need to take are ELA A10, ELA B10, History 10, and Science 10. Those are must-haves. In fact, when you're going to go to pick your classes, you won't even have a choice. We're automatically going to slot you in for those classes. Now at EHS, we have made it mandatory for 2 classes, for you to take 2 classes. The first one is CWE 10. And this is a career and work explorations class. taught by yours truly. And what we talk about in that class is resumes, cover letters. We do a lot of personality tests to determine what your interests are when it comes to careers and get you thinking about different options, maybe that you haven't thought of before, or maybe just affirming things that you have already known about yourself for a long time. We talk about work safety. We talk about health and safety standards. We build a portfolio. We talk about a lot of other different things when it comes to the world of work. We do interviews and prep you that way so that you know what an actual interview is like. So there's lots of things that are really beneficial for that class, which is why it was made a compulsory course. Wellness 10 is another class that you need to take in grade 10 at Esterhazy High School. And the reason we do that is because in order to graduate, you need either Wellness 10, Phys Ed 20, or Phys Ed 30. And we just like to get that Wellness 10 out of the way right at the beginning because we find or have found that sometimes people's schedules get a little crazy. You start taking academic classes and it gets hard to fit in that wellness or phys ed class. And sometimes as we get older, we really don't want to take that if we're focusing on something else and it becomes more burdensome. So we like to get it out of the way and everybody takes it in grade 10. Now with the math courses, this is really important, is that there are two that you can possibly take in grade 10. The first being Math Foundations Pre-Calculus. And we like to think of this as more of an academic math class. The skills involved are a little bit more difficult, more algebra, that kind of thing in this class that builds on the foundations and pre-calculus, which are going to be more difficult, challenging maths as you get into the 20 and 30 levels, grade 11 and 12's pre-calculus and foundations classes. Another option for you is the Math Workplace Apprenticeship, and this would be more of the apprenticeship math, the real world application math, a lot of finances, a lot of word problems and figuring things out to deal with real life. So both math classes, if you enjoy math, you can think of taking the Math Workplace Apprenticeship as an elective. If you enjoy math, if you know that you're more academic and you want to free up your schedule for other classes, then maybe just taking the Math Foundations Pre-Calculus will work for you. Now, having said that, really would hate to close any doors for anybody because pretty much taking the Math Workplace Apprenticeship really limits what programs you can take in university if that's where you think you're headed. Now, having said that too, I've had students who have gone some of the more trades or like engineering but not engineering programs at Sauce Polytech require pre-calculus. They didn't realize that and had to backtrack quite a few classes and years to get the requirements to get into the program of their choice. So it's really, really important that you keep all your doors open when it comes to both of these math classes, especially in grade 10, because that's a lot to backtrack if you realize in grade 12 that you needed that math. Now, these are the streams, and it's really important to note here is that the Math Workplace Apprenticeship only leads to 20 apprenticeship and 30 apprenticeship. You can't move up on this streaming system. So if you take the Math Foundations Pre-Calculus, you can go into Math Foundations 20 or Pre-Calculus 20. But please also note that you can't also skip up. You can't go into Pre-Calculus 30 if you only have the foundations math. You can only do the foundations 30. And while, maybe pre-calculus math, you're thinking, oh, that's more difficult. But it was too difficult. So I'm just going to go do the foundations math, but I didn't do the 20. You cannot do that either. You have to stay in the stream. So pre-calculus 20 leads to 30, which leads then to calculus. So it's really important to consider that too, especially when you're doing your math selections for grade 11.